I'm laughing at myself right now after I filmed my May book haul 10 days before the month ended, thinking, oh, I'm not going to get any more books. And I come back from my holiday and I've bought one book while I'm away. Books have appeared in the post and friends have passed along books to me that they were getting rid of. And suddenly I've ended up with 10 new books, so I figured that could only mean one thing, and that is another book haul. So hopefully you like book hauls, because I have 10 more books to share with you today. But without further ado, let's get into the books. So first things first, the book that I bought on holiday, I'm considering my Italian souvenir from the trip, and that is The Days of Abandonment by Elena Ferrante. I'm sure you've heard of Elena Ferrante. She is incredibly popular at the moment in Booktube and out of Booktube. She's an Italian author, although this is obviously an English translation published by Europa. In particular, her Neapolitan series, which is 4 books, has been getting a lot of hype. I wanted to try one of her standalone novels, as that's just what I would prefer to do when starting a new author, and this one's a lot shorter than the Neapolitan novels as well. I'd heard Lauren, Vanessa and Nicola talk about this one, so I knew people had enjoyed it, and I figured, hey, this could be my little present that I buy myself whilst in Rome, because I stumbled across an English bookshop whilst I was there, and given that the author is Italian, it seemed appropriate. The story itself is about a wife whose husband has abandoned her and about her coping with that, so hopefully as good as everybody says. I then have 2 books that were passed along to me by Nicola over at Robotnik, because she's moving to the US and having to pare down her book collection quite a bit. So she asked if there were any of the books she was getting rid of that I'd like, and these 2 stuck out to me, and those are Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides. I'm sure you've heard this one mentioned as well. It's a very popular book. I've never read any of Jeffrey Eugenides' books, but I've seen the Virgin Suicides film and really enjoyed that, so I'm hoping that is a good sign. I believe this novel is actually about a transgender man, and I hear amazing things about it, so hopefully it lives up to the hype. Nicola also gave me her World Book Night edition of Sarah Waters' Fingersmith. I already own Sarah Waters' books, but haven't read them. The 2 I own are massive hardbacks, so I keep telling myself that's why I haven't picked them up yet, and I'm hoping that finally having a paperback copy of one of her books, I'll be pushed to finally give them a shot, because everyone seems to love Sarah Waters. Her books sound like exactly the kind of book I'd like. When people describe the aspects of her books they enjoy, those sound like things that I enjoy as well, so I don't know what's taken me so long, other than probably the fact that her books are quite chunky. But I'm going to make a commitment to myself that I read this book this summer, so, you know, keep an eye on me, make sure. I then got a belated birthday present from the lovely Vanessa over at Chbosky when I saw her the other day, and that is Odyssey Volume 1 of the comic book series. I've seen this a few times in bookshops and online and been tempted to pick up but hadn't, so that was really lucky, and it was perfectly chosen by Vanessa. It's a science fiction graphic novel series inspired by Greek myth, so, you know, 2 amazing combinations there. I can't wait to see how they function together. I believe I've heard Elizabeth over at Books and Pieces talk about this book and she really enjoyed it, so hopefully I do too. Here's some of the illustrations. There is a lot of really bright and gaudy colours in this one, like you can probably tell from the cover, which I like. So yeah, I'm really excited for this, and thank you so much, Vanessa. The next 4 books were sent to me by Penguin, and they are a selection from their new Penguin Pocket Classics, which come in a variety of colours. I managed to end up picking 3 orange and 1 green ones though, so they all look a bit samey. But they are re-releasing 20 classics in these editions in different colours, like I mentioned, and the 4 I have here are O Pioneers by Willa Cather, and this is about a pioneer woman living in the American prairies. I then have The Call of Cthulhu by H.P. Lovecraft, and I've never read any H.P. Lovecraft, so I'm really hoping this is a good one to start with, because I do want to try out his stuff. I've been meaning to for quite some time. He writes horror. I believe this one's about demonic spirits and ancient curses. We then have The Malay Archipelago by Alfred Russel Wallace, and this is about a Victorian scientist adventurer travelling through Southeast Asia, so it sounds pretty good. This is one of the more chunky ones, it's over 700 pages. And lastly, The Notebooks of Malt Lorids Brig, don't know if I pronounced that right, by Rainer Maria Rilke, who is most famous for being a poet, but this is their only novel that they wrote, and it's all about being young and alone in Paris. In a way, that's an appropriate segue to the next 2 books, which are collections of poetry. The first one was sent to me by the people over the Independent Bookseller, and that is Off the Shelf, a celebration of bookshops in verse, edited by Caroline Duffy, and this is a collection of poems by different authors that Caroline Duffy's commissioned, all about bookshops and reading, and it's the official book for Independent Bookshop Week this year, which which is at the end of June. I am actually planning on doing a video touring independent bookshops in Edinburgh that week, so look out for that if that's something you're interested in. But I'm really excited to read this collection of poetry. It sounds fantastic, love the themes, and some of my favourite poets are in here, like Dawn Patterson and Liz Lochhead and Carol Ann Duffy herself, so I'm excited to read their poems and also discover some new poets as well. And lastly, another book that was passed along to me by a friend who was getting rid of it, and that is Dome of the Hidden Pavilion by James Tate. This was sent to me by Jen over at Jen V Campbell as she was just having a mini clear out and asked if anybody wanted any of the books, and this one I had my eye on. I know Jen wasn't necessarily enamoured by this collection, although there were a few that she really enjoyed in it. But once you've got it in your head you want to read something, you generally want to establish your own opinion on it, especially if you get an opportunity to pick the book up. So I thought I'd give it a shot because there may be some poems in here that really do stand out to me, so we'll definitely give it a shot and see how it fares. And that is an absolutely gorgeous cover, gotta point that out as well. The illustration is by Amy Alice Thompson. But those are all the books I had to show you, certainly no mean amount. All books I'm really excited for though, so I hope you enjoyed this haul. If you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts on them down below, and until next time guys, happy reading. I'll see you all again soon. Bye! Hi guys, so I'm here today to do my end of month May reading wrap up, in which I give you sort of mini reviews of all the stuff I completed in the month of May.